This is Dr. Emily Scherning with AR. Here, starting to think towards 2024. And we usually talk about very long term weather trends here on the channel, which are climate, right? When we're looking farther out at big picture trends, we're talking about climate. When we're talking about rain that's coming tomorrow, it's weather. When we're trying to think about what's going to happen in 2024, we really have an interesting intersection. And at this time of year that I often take for reflection, I of course also look forward as well. And I thought maybe you'd want to look forward with me because 2024 is going to be a very intense and weird year in climate. That's just something that we know. There are a lot of folks who they make the joke, oh, this hasn't been the warmest summer ever in 2023. It's been the coolest summer of the rest of your life. Very depressing, very original. I don't think that it's necessarily true. However, 2024 summer will probably be warmer than 2023. After we get out of this record breaking El Nino cycle, we may be able to take a step back. We do expect towards 2050 increasingly warm summers, but it is quite possible that 2025 will be one where we have a little bit more of a return to baseline and stop feeling like we're experiencing this hyper acceleration of climate change that really is kicked off in 2023. However, I do want to raise a question, an area for concern that I am watching. Let's take a look back here at Zach's fantastic visualizations that are just continuously updated. This was last updated on Monday, 9/4, of what's going on with global sea ice. In 2023, there are concerns that we may have hit a tipping point in Earth's climate systems that would make our future modeling less reliable, shall we say. If we look at 2023, we can see the extent of global sea ice is anomalously quite low, although the Antarctic sea ice is really making a run for it. It's picking back up. We can see that reflected here. The last time we saw a similarly anomalous event, a similar size of unpredicted ice loss, in the context of a gradual decrease that we have been seeing, we have seen gradual steady reduction of global sea ice, was on this yellow line here, which was the end of the last really serious El Nino cycle. It's obviously concerning to anyone who looks at the data that at the beginning of this El Nino cycle, we see this intense drop. This is why I think keeping an eye on things over 2024 into 2025 is going to be particularly important. I think we'll know by then if we have made some sort of a tipping point phase change or if we are looking at relatively isolatable effects of the El Nino and can continue with models that take us to 2050. So we're keeping an eye on that. I think that it's worth watching. I think that it's worth making data driven instead of gut driven decisions about those long range trends. And I think that we're going to continue to have the data. But in the short term, I'm like trying to figure out what I want to put in for fall and how much time I want to bet that I'm getting. So let's look at that intersection between climate and weather. I want to show you some resources you might not be aware of. Maybe you know about it, maybe you don't. But NOAA, the National Weather Service, they collaborate. They do these pretty decent long range forecasts. And as we're looking towards the rest of 2023, I think it's nice to know what to expect. As we talk about taking advantage of this potentially extended end of the growing season, here in the growing stuff zone where I live, this area here that I'm circling with my mouse is an area that is expected to have fairly decent stability in terms of climate so that we can hope for some agricultural stability here in the heartland, provide some food security to the rest of the United States, hopefully beyond. If we're looking at the seasonal temperature outlook for the rest of 2023, you can see everywhere else is going to be hot. Unfortunately, we're really highlighted for some heat up here in this other very valuable area up here up in the Northeast in terms of potential climate stability. And look at what's going on in the north of Alaska. That is pretty bad. That is leaning pretty strong, likely above. If we look at the seasonal precipitation outlook, folks in the Carolinas, I'm sure you're shocked that it's wet, right? I'm sorry, guys. I hope the flooding is going to clear up there. But as we saw a couple of weeks ago in the hurricane outlook, that was just last week, I talked about the long range hurricane outlook. We are likely to see more hurricanes tracking inland as we move through this century, meaning that there will often be more fall precipitation in this band, kind of shooting across Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. Unfortunately, we do see continued below average precipitation up here in the Pacific Northwest. That's upsetting to see. Also here by the Great Lakes, right here over Lake Superior. And for me here in Iowa, also completely unhelpful equal chance forecast. So this to me is an interesting question, is what do you do when you're in an equal chance forecast? This is maybe you'll think this is silly. I don't know. Come on outside with me. I want to show you something.
So I'm out here by the hayfield and I want to show you this grape. I'm not going to say this is my grape because we have more of like a cohabiting situation. I don't prune it, I don't water it. This is a wild grape. And it's fruiting, you can see, as heavily as a domestic grape. The fruits are really very beautiful this year, and it's fruiting this heavily all the way up the tree, all the way up this mulberry tree that it's fighting with, all the way up there. I do not usually see wild grapefruit like this. It is very strange. This is probably a 5 times yield. Looking at nuts here, this is a black walnut. This walnut tree has earned my respect. Look how many people have tried to kill it. It won't be killed. I've decided to stop trying. Almost every nut-bearing cluster on this and other black walnuts I've observed is bearing 3 per node. Also unusual. And here, this is the strongest sign of a cold, snowy winter, a winter with heavy precipitation that my grandmother taught me is heavy fruits on wild and untended apples, particularly crab apples, which you can see my crabapple tree is insane. It is so laden with fruit that the branches are hanging down, and I have seen many untended apples so heavy with fruit this season that the branches are hanging to the ground. When I asked my grandmother as a child why was that a sign of a snowy winter, she said it was out of God's concern for birds, which I don't know if that's true or not, but I think it's a cool idea that is beautiful enough to be worth passing on. You can see here in another one of my bowers, heavy with fruit, you can see the juniper is bearing very heavily back there too. All of these signs of heavy fall-bearing fruits and nuts, these are all things that I've been taught culturally indicate that we are likelier than not to have an intense winter in terms of frozen precipitation and cold.
So, what do you think? I think that in situations, especially where we don't have a great predictive capacity from science, using local, indigenous, traditional knowledge can be a useful supplement to help us make decisions. And we'll get to see, right, by March next year, if the trees and the vines have not been so accurate in their outlook, we'll be able to know, right? They'll be able to make fun of me right here on this channel. I wonder if any of you are watching and you have these sort of folk knowledge traditions around winter weather prediction. I'd be very interested to hear about it. Later this fall, when they start coming out, I hope to collect and read for you the woolly bear caterpillars, which are another big winter predictor, folk winter predictor in this area. I think that kind of stuff is cool. I think that there are reasons why people have preserved these traditions, right? And if nothing else, when we engage in them, we are connecting with a chain of knowledge. And I think that there's some meaning, some value there. So thanks for joining me. Next week, I want to talk a little bit more about preparing for 2024, because regardless of these seasonal trends, we have to remember the overall picture for 2024 is going to be very intense, with impacts on global agriculture and impacts on global supply chains. I'll share more with you about what my family is doing and what sort of measured preparations I think that you should make too. Thanks. Let's get ready together. Bye. And let's not forget, folks, this Sunday, September 10th at 2 p.m. Central Time, I would love to hear from you if you'd like to come and reflect with me back on AR's second year and into the third year that we're just beginning now. The birthday of AR is 9/17. So if you're interested in joining us, please come to our Zoom meeting. If you'd like to give me feedback another way, you can always email me. You can get me at ar@americanresiliency.org. Thank you so much, everyone who helped push us over the threshold I feel like I have much better control of the channel. I was able to get rid of unskippable ads, and I'm working to continue to fine tune the system with the new power that I have on the platform. It was all because of you folks. I appreciate it very much. I appreciate everyone who gives time, who gives money. This has been an incredible year, this second year of running AR. And thank you for being here with me. I look forward to continuing to grow in community next year. Bye.